Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the Brooklyn Technical High School Virtual College Fair powered by StriveScan. My name is Sibel Rasim. Welcome. I'll be your facilitator for today's session. With that said, we have about 45 minutes on the clock. It's going to be a fun session. And remember, this is just an appetizer. So these schools have a little bit of time to tell you a lot about their school, but it is up to you to do a deeper dive into these institutions after we are done with this virtual college fair. Now, one way you could do a deeper dive within the session is by asking questions. And you wonder, how do you ask questions, Sibel? Well, you're going to be clicking on that Q&A button in the Zoom toolbar to type your questions into the presenters at any time. Remember, at any time, do not wait until the last minute. We want to make sure we're answering those questions and we can get to them. We do not have a live Q&A happening at the end. Again, we do not have a live Q&A with your questions happening at the end. So therefore, it's really important to make sure that those questions get in as soon as possible in that Q&A. Also, do us a favor, please, and put the institution's name within the question, just so we all know who the question goes to. Also, the panelists cannot see or hear you. You're muted and your video is turned off. So once again, super important to use that Q&A for any questions. And fun fact, the chat might be blowing up as well because our panelists and presenters could be putting some important links or contact information that they want you to check out. So go ahead and check the chat periodically. Also, sign up for more sessions. This is one out of many, many college presentations offered. Although we do not have a session for tonight any longer for Brooklyn Technical High School, we do have more sessions for you all tomorrow. So go ahead and sign up for those. And last but certainly not least, if you would like to relive the fun, or maybe mom missed out on the session, or maybe a friend wants to check out these schools, all the sessions are being recorded and will be available within the next few business days at strivescan.com/Brooklyn Tech. With that said, I'd love to get started. Our first institution up is the University of Rochester.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sibel. Okay, if I could just, excellent. Hopefully everybody can see my screen and there's an image of the University of Rochester.
Good to go.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Hi, folks. My name is Erica Padilla. I am the Regional Associate Director for the University of Rochester. I work with students that are coming from all 5 boroughs of New York City. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. Rochester is actually located in the city of Rochester. It's on the ancestral lands of the Seneca people. We're about 6 hours from New York City. So if you're anything like me and you prefer to fly and not drive, that's about roughly a half-hour, 40-minute flight from JFK Airport to Rochester Airport. The airport's actually convenient. It's like 10 minutes away from campus, so super accessible. The area of Western New York in which we're located is actually also known as the Finger Lakes region of the state. On your screen now is actually a picture of the River Campus. I always describe the River Campus as like our hub or like the heartbeat of the University of Rochester. And that's because the River Campus is home to the College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering, which I represent. And that's basically all of our undergraduate programs, except for the ones that are offered at Eastman, which is our School of Music that's over here in downtown Rochester. Downtown is about maybe 10 minutes from campus. But on the River Campus, we also have our graduate schools of business, education, engineering, several of which partnered to be able to offer direct admission for your master's degree as well. So you'd be able to get a bachelor's and a master's degree. Then right across the street is actually University of Rochester Medical Center, not really visible in this picture. And next to that is the School of Medicine, with which we've also partnered to offer direct admission to medical school for an 8-year BSMD program. The River Campus has about roughly 5,500 undergraduate students. We're primarily a residential community. Actually, most of our students will opt to live on campus for all 4 years. It's like 90% of our student body. I should share though, you do have to live on campus for your first 2 years, and students usually opt to stay just because the sense of community, but also access to resources. Rochester happens to be the largest employer, one of the largest employers in our region. A lot of that is the healthcare network that I talked about a moment ago, but then also all the different institutes and research facilities that are part of the university. So they offer this amazing network to be able to get hands-on experience, which is also pretty amazing. Usually, when I meet with students at a college fair, which I hope we'll be able to do in person really soon, the question I get is, how do you describe a Rochester student? It's really cheesy to say, but there's no one way to describe a Rochester student because our students are literally coming from all different walks of life and all different backgrounds. About a quarter of our students identify as being the first in their families to go to college. About a quarter of our students are actually international or coming from overseas. We represent 140 countries in every state in the union. So literally lots of different backgrounds and identities. That's definitely reflected in the over 300 organizations on campus. So there's lots to be able to get involved in. Maybe the one thing that draws students to Rochester is, yes, that sense of community, but then also an inherent academic curiosity and love of learning. At Rochester, we also live by our institutional motto, which is Meliora, that's Latin for ever better. The idea of being ever better is that we work to always be ever better, to lift each other up, but also for the betterment of mankind, so that we actually, everything we do is hoping to have a lasting impact. A big part of being ever better is giving students latitude to be the kind of learners that they want to be. So we don't actually have a traditional curriculum. We have an open curriculum at Rochester. That means we don't have core classes or general education requirements. If you know that you love psychology, if you've always been passionate about engineering, if you've had curiosity about business, you're actually able to start those classes from the moment that you arrive on campus. That creates a very different experience because it means every single student on campus is making the intentional choice to be in certain classes. It changes the classroom experience. When students have all been very thoughtful in making those choices, the classes tend to be very active and dynamic. And a lot of those conversations often spill out into life outside of the classroom. Because we do have an open curriculum, I know it can kind of sound really exciting, but also a little bit overwhelming. You have a network of folks working with you. We have the kind of odd curiosity of being one of the smallest research universities in the country. We have 5,500 students. It's about a 10-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you have a whole network of people working with you to support you along the way. We're excited that we're proud to share that almost 100% of our students will be involved in at least one internship, many more than that. And because of the flexible curriculum, a lot of our students will actually graduate with 2 majors, sometimes 3, sometimes more. We're at heart always a research university. And the big part of being a research university and being ever better is making sure that our undergraduate students are a profound part of that research and innovation. And so our undergraduate students, almost 80%, will be involved in research. If you're picturing lab coats and bleakers, absolutely, the natural sciences are involved in research, but so are students in the arts, so are students in our social sciences, our dancers are doing research. There's always opportunity to create and innovate. And you do have the chance to actually apply to get your own funding to be able to basically fund your own original research. It's not unusual for students to graduate from Rochester, having also been published. We do have our own undergraduate research journal, which is pretty amazing. And with that, I'm going to pause. I just wanted to share that we went test optional last year. So this is our 2nd year as a test optional university. On your screen, you're looking at all of our application cycles. We do meet full demonstrated financial need for admitted students. And I invite you all to join us for one of our virtual sessions and then to reach out to me if I can be of help or answer any questions. I look forward to connecting with you and I look forward to answering your questions tonight. I'm going to toss it right back to Sibel.
Everyone, so sorry, Sibel just lost power. So I'm your new facilitator, Isabella, for a little while until Sibel could rejoin. So thank you so much for your patience here as we're a little bit in transition, but we'll go ahead and pass things off to the University of Vermont.
Right on. Thanks, Isabella. Thank you so much. And thanks, everyone. Hi, I'm Chris from UVM. Let me get my screen going before I forget. Here we go. All right, we're ready to go. So everyone, again, my name is Chris Prolongo, Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Vermont. I use he, him pronouns, and as a former first-generation college student from New York City, originally from Queens, it's nice to be home, even if virtually. I am the counselor for the New York City region, so let me drop my info in the chat real quick before I forget. Give you my email information in case you have any questions. Okay, so I've been doing this a long, long time. I know I only have about 6 minutes to cover a lot of ground, so I'll do the best I can. So what I want to do is first talk about what makes UVM different, a little bit about our process, and then we'll dive right into admissions. So before I begin, let me also drop our link in the chat. If you want to get more info about UVM, you can join our contact list via this link here, get you all set up and get you on our mailing list. Because again, there's a lot of ground to go for. So all that being said, now that we've done the housekeeping, let's dive right into it. So for UVM, we've been around since 1791. We're actually the 5th oldest university in New England after Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, and Brown. We are a small public Ivy designated research institution. That means our roughly 10,000 undergraduate students have the benefit of a large research university, but in a more intimate college setting that's walking distance from downtown Burlington, where I'm coming to you virtually live tonight. That's on Church Street, very downtown, about 10-minute walk from campus. As you see on the slide before you, we offer over 100 different majors in 7 undergraduate schools and colleges, as well as an honors college, graduate college, and the largest hospital north of Boston, UVM Medical Center. One more quick note, we are a little bit different from other state flagships in the sense that most of our students actually come from out of state. Only 25% of our student body comes from Vermont. The rest are coming from out of state, largely New England and the Mid-Atlantic, a lot from New York City, of course. And it's nothing against our Vermonters, there just aren't as many of them. It's a small state. So again, we draw students from all over, from the 46 different states and over 60 different countries. So for my presentation, talk a little about what makes UVM different. First, it's our academic ecosystem, right? It's the idea that our full experience is encompassed by the mountains, the city of Burlington, the lake, the classroom, and of course our campus, right? All those things feed into each other, whether it's the research opportunities on Lake Champlain or Mount Mansfield, going to downtown Burlington for a cup of coffee or an internship. We're taking advantage of the classroom, where our average class size is about 35 and our student faculty ratio is about 15:1. So think of it as this, again, academic ecosystem where all parts of our location, where again, we're in Burlington, it's an incredible place to be. We take advantage of the outdoors, we take advantage of our community, and we take advantage of our campus. So no matter where you wind up, my advice, get yourselves involved. No matter what your flavor is, no matter what you're into, go out there, join a few clubs, play a sport. All the studies show that all the basically students who get involved on their campus tend to stay and graduate from that campus. So at UVM, we have over 100 different service learning options, 200 clubs and organizations, Division I sports, more than 10,000 internships, and over 70 study abroad opportunities. Students can do research on Lake Champlain or go for a walk or a run on the 22-mile bike path that runs right next to it. The Green Mountains offer some of the best hiking and especially skiing. If you ski or snowboard on the East Coast, we're all right here. And as a land grant institution, we have access to different research facilities throughout the state, whether it's on Mount Mansfield, the highest peak in Vermont, our cream dairy facility. And yes, we have our own herd of student-run dairy cows on campus and a horse farm as well, because we're in Vermont. I think you have to have that. And we also have research on our 40-foot research vessel, the Melisira, that's docked just steps away on Lake Champlain. What else makes us unique? The sense that our students want to make a difference. And I think our students want to be impactful. And we read plenty of essays this year of students who spoke out, were advocates, and were passionate about their causes, right? So at UVM, we want to harness that, and we want to give students the platform to do so. So a couple ways we demonstrate our commitment to our community. UVM recently made the decision to fully divest from fossil fuels. More than 25% of the food served on campus comes from local farmers. We were the first institution to declare public support for freedom of religion and the first to admit women and African Americans into the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. For every student who arrives at UVM, we sign our Common Ground Pledge. It's the candle lighting ceremony you see on the slide in the middle that I'm showing now. It's basically the commitment to the values of respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. No matter where students come from, we want them to have that core values and exchange of ideas. And our students find their people in our identity centers, whether it's the Mosaic Center for Students of Color, our PRISM Center for students who identify as LGBTQA+, or our Interfaith Center, where students want to practice their spirituality. And of course, we have our Women and Gender Equity Center as well. And last but not least, every student who arrives at UVM will take coursework in diversity, sustainability, quantitative reasoning, and foundational writing. Now, our housing style is a little bit different. We choose our residence halls not by size or location, based on theme. So depending what you're into, again, we want to foster community early on. You may have a student or a roommate from halfway across the world, and you might have that one thing in common. That's the idea with our housing. So the way it works for us is we have residential learning communities, 8 different theme-based housing modules, ranging from sustainability to social impact to our nationally recognized wellness environment, where they study the idea of healthy body, healthy mind. It all comes together. 100% of our first-year students live in residential learning communities, and they're required to do so for the first 2 years. So while campus housing is offered all 4 years, about half of our students will move off, just because, again, Burlington is steps away from campus where you can enjoy all the city has to offer, whether it's volunteering, internships, or even employment during or after graduation. Now, I mentioned it a few times now, we would not be UVM without Burlington, and Burlington would not be Burlington without UVM. I think I said that right, yes. It's just an amazing place. And again,
Hey, Chris, I'm sorry, you're out of time. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. My information is in the chat if you have any questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for the University of Vermont, please put it in the Q&A. All right. Next up, we have Worcester Polytechnic Institute.
Thank you so much. All right, so I hope everyone can see my screen okay. But my name is Claudia Avilas. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an assistant director of admissions for diversity and outreach initiatives. And I'm the contact for students in New York City, the 5 boroughs. So Brooklyn Tech students, I would be your go-to contact if you have any questions. I'll make sure to share my contact information with you all at the end of the presentation. But WPI is located in Worcester, Massachusetts. So we're about 50 miles west of Boston, and we're about 180 miles from New York City, so about 3 hours away. And I will give you a quick introduction on the university, but we are primarily a STEM-focused school with a project-based curriculum. We have about 4,500 undergraduates and about 2,000 graduate students. So we're a medium-sized school. We have a little over 50 degree programs. The most popular one is engineering. We have 12 different types of engineering majors for you to try out. And then the second most popular major is computer science. And then we have a number of students who will major in the science and math field. So majors like biology, biochem, physics, math, these are options as well. Each year, about 20% of our incoming class does enroll as undecided. They may know that they want to study something in the STEM field, but don't know exactly what that is yet. That's okay. When you come to WPI, well, we're making the decision to admit you based on the belief that you'd find success in any one of the STEM programs. So you'd be able to try out different majors that may be of interest. We do have a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio. We try to keep that on the smaller end of things due to the project-based curriculum, and we want the opportunity for students to have contact with their faculty members. Our students also have the opportunity to double major, add a minor. We also have some students who graduate in 4 or 5 years with both their bachelor's and master's degree. It is very challenging, and it might not be for everyone, but it is an option for some students. We also have students complete research at the undergraduate level. You don't have to wait till you're a graduate student. And that's as simple as talking to your professor about opportunities that may be of interest to you in research. For our students from their first year to their sophomore year, WPI has a retention rate of 95%. It's something that we're really proud of. We do have a couple of different orientation programs that take place. One of them is called Connections. It's for students who identify as LGBTQIAP+, as a student of color, or first gen to college student. And it's essentially a network of support and resources that you get to learn about before orientation and before classes start. So definitely something to have on your radar if you may be interested in participating in that program. To talk to you a little bit about our academic calendar, we do things a little bit differently. We have a quarter system at the university. Each quarter is about 7 weeks long, and you take 3 classes in each of these 7 weeks. So it moves at a pretty fast pace. We have an optional term in the summer if you wanted to take courses over the summer, but majority of our students will do an internship over the summer. We have a non-punitive grading policy where students get either an A, B, C, or NR. NR stands for no record. And then we also have a flexible curriculum. We have opportunities for students to double major, to minor, to do a co-op potentially, or get that bachelor's and master's degree. This is something that might be available to you. You have advising from faculty members once you declare a major so that they can help you and make sure that you graduate with the degrees that you intend on having and the major you intend on having. So you have that advising all throughout your time. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have a project-based curriculum, and our students are able to go abroad or off campus to complete projects. Mainly in their junior and senior years. There's a project called the Interactive Qualifying Project, which you complete in your junior year. It's a social-based problem, and you're using your STEM skill set to come up with the solution. And students will take a term and essentially complete that project in a different part of the world or a different part of the United States. We also have students for their major qualifying project, basically like your senior year capstone, who may choose to do that project at an off-campus location. About 90% of our students will do this every year, except for COVID this past year. And we do offer up to $5,000 in a global scholarship for students to be able to have this opportunity to get that global perspective. To tell you a little bit about campus resources, the Career Development Center is one of many. We have a little over 400 different companies recruit on campus every year. There's 2 big fairs that happen, one in the fall, one in the spring, where companies come to tell you about jobs, internships, co-ops. It's a good networking opportunity. And each year, the CDC also publishes a report called the First Destinations Outcome Report, where they show basically what graduates are doing after they've graduated from WPI, where they're going to graduate school, where they're employed. So I definitely encourage you to check that out if you're interested in seeing some of that information. And I'm going to transition to talk to you about campus life, because when you go to college, you're going to do more than just study. You're going to be a student with your interests and passions. So we are primarily a residential campus. First year students are all guaranteed housing, but past your first year, we have about 56% of our upperclassmen who will choose to stay on. In terms of extracurriculars, or sports opportunities, we're NCAA Division III varsity school. We have 10 varsity men's teams, 10 varsity women's teams. If you're not interested at competing in the varsity level, you could do a club or intramural sport. If sports aren't your cup of tea, that's okay. We have a little over 200 clubs and organizations for you to participate in. One thing I want to mention about something different in admissions, when we're reviewing applications for this coming cycle, we are going to be test blind. We have been test optional for the last several years, but we're now going test blind. So essentially, standardized testing is not going to be a factor we will consider when we're reviewing applicants. If you have any more questions, I encourage you to sign up using this QR code to find more information on visit opportunities. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Sibel for the next presenter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for Worcester Polytechnic Institute, go ahead and put it in the Q&A. Next up, we have Clark University.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you should see our motto, challenge convention, change our world. So hello, everybody. My name is Chris Munoz-Colleen. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions for Access and Inclusion here at Clark. I'm also your admissions counselor, so keep me in mind as a resource. I will share my email at the end, but first, a little bit about Clark. So Clark is a small research university with a liberal arts curriculum. We're also in Worcester, Massachusetts, and we're a small school, around 2,200 undergraduate students and around 800 grad students. Clark was actually originally founded as a research institution for psychology in the late 1800s. We've honestly kept this foundation of research, but we've expanded really to become a hybrid research liberal arts university. The phrase that embodies our approach is LEAP. So you'll see that everywhere on our website. What that stands for is liberal education and effective practice. So liberal education is our curriculum, which I'll show you in just a moment, but effective practice is really like the real life learning at Clark. If learning is a sport, you can think of effective practice as like baseball practice, right? We could talk about baseball. I could show you video clips of people playing baseball, but eventually you would need to pick up the bat yourself. We have a few ways of kind of moving you from theory to practice. One of those is the FYI. So this is the course that everyone will take when they start at Clark. Essentially, it's a course that introduces you to how to be a college student. Everyone in the class is a first-year student as well, and the professor is your academic advisor. Throughout your time at Clark, you will also engage in our liberal arts curriculum, or the PLS. So you have the entire curriculum on your screen. We do ask that you take courses across different disciplines. Really, we're hoping that you're going to have a flexibility of perspective. This will prepare you for anything you're doing after Clark, whether it's graduate school or your career. And you can kind of think of this as really being between the middle ground of freedom and structure. So let's take the aesthetic perspective. You could do a course like what the students are doing on the slide, which is photography. That's like actually making art. Or you could do something like the history of jazz, a completely different discipline. You will not be making any art in the history of jazz, but in both cases, you're moved into that direction of the aesthetic perspective. Like I said, we want you to leave Clark with the real flexibility of perspective. We want you to give a TED Talk if you need to do that after you graduate. We also like I said, want to move you out of the classroom. So one way we do this is with POP classes. These are classes that have a built-in component where you are going out in the world to do something kind of like the baseball practice example. You'll see a couple examples on the screen. What they all have in common is that you're going to be leaving the classroom, meeting professionals in the field, and actually practicing the theories that you're studying as a student at Clark. All of these experiences lead to the capstone. So this is kind of like the culminating experience. The only way to summarize the capstone, I mean, you'll see the variety on the screen. Think of it as just a large project that is of your choosing. So you could do partnering with a local organization, writing a thesis, doing a large internship project. Just know that you'll be working with the professor. And for how all of these experiences help our students after Clark, I think the real world practice that our students get really does set them up for success, as you can see from these numbers, but I can't not mention this. A third of our students will stay at Clark and they will get a tuition-free master's degree. It is incredibly common and popular among Clarkies, so just keep that in mind. A little bit about admissions. We are test optional and have been for nearly a decade, but we really do encourage the interview. And that's a good chance for you to get to know Clark and Clark to get to know you. So please use that along the way. If you, like I said, if you have questions for me, you're always welcome to write. In terms of financial aid, everyone is automatically considered for merit scholarships, and 85% of our students will receive some kind of financial aid package. I just want to end by saying that Worcester is really essential to life at Clark. Just as an example, our basketball team does books first, basketball second, which is basically a program where they partner with local kids, and as the title suggests, they would read books with them and then play basketball. We don't have fraternities or sororities. The real community happens in clubs at Clark. We definitely want you to go abroad. We have programs in 50 countries, and we have 17 Division III sports teams. So with that, I will put my information in the chat, and I thank you all for coming tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for Clark University, go ahead and put it in the Q&A. All right, my panelists and presenters, go ahead and join me via video. Turn your videos on so that I can see your beautiful faces, because I have a question for you all. Now, earlier, I had a little bit of a mishap because I lost power, totally lost power, no idea why. And I, unbeknownst to me, cut my colleague from University of Vermont off super quickly. He had a few extra minutes left on his timer, and I cut him off. So I apologize for that. We're gonna get started with this question, but University of Vermont, you know, obviously, if you'd like to go in a little bit more in depth with what you're going to say in regards to your admissions process in this at this time when it is your turn, obviously feel free to do that. I feel like it's only fair, so I apologize for that. All right, my colleagues and my attendees, I definitely think it's time for this awesome question. What advice would you give someone going through the college search process? And University of Rochester, you can go ahead and go first.
We're going through a really difficult time right now, and I know that it can be very, it feels very isolating to know that we're in this virtual space, but a lot of colleges and universities actually have so many more resources available and virtual programming available to you that I think it's fair to say that we're sometimes even more accessible. So if you have questions, if you need more support, we're here to help you. And I encourage all of you to make sure to reach out and not to be shy. And we connect you with students on campus as well as some of our students as a way to get to know more about our communities. So if we could be of support in any way, please reach out to us.
Awesome, thank you. University of Vermont, your time to shine again. Sorry about that.
Nah, no worries, it happens. I know I haven't done a few of these. I'm like, wait a minute, I have more time. All good. Thank you all. And I guess it's a good way to dovetail to my answers. So yes, do your homework and check websites. And all the information I'm going to say real quick, just for peace of mind, is on our admitted student or our application website. Just to cover UVM's application process, we can use the common application or the coalition application for us, either one. We do have an early admission deadline of November 1st, and then of course, January 15th for regular decision as well. We are a holistic review application process. So for us, we We'll look at your transcripts, your recommendation letter, and we are test optional as well. We'll be test optional for 2022 and 2023 also. So if you have testing, great. If not, that's fine too. Exactly half of our students applied with testing last year and half without. And to underscore my point, half of our students were admitted with testing and half of them without. So if you have testing, great, but don't feel like you'll be at a disadvantage if you aren't able to take those exams. And that goes for our honors program, our scholarship programs, and of course, admission across the board. And we do lastly offer scholarship as well. And I guess I'll kind of go back to the question in saying, students, navigate that college process, do your homework, and look at the admissions process kind of like as your own responsibility. Parents and guardians, if you're out there too, take a look at the financial aid process as your responsibility, maybe owning that as well, because that could be just as complicated as the admissions process. So look at financial aid and look at scholarship, which UVM for out-of-state students will offer scholarship upwards of $20,000. And about 88% of our students qualify for some type of aid last year. So that was real quick on the last slide I was going to show, and no worries, it happens. So I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This technology world, I'm telling you. All right, awesome. We have Worcester Polytechnic Institute next.
Yeah, so I would agree with what Erica was saying and Chris about being diligent with looking at deadlines. There's so many, so definitely make sure you keep track of that. But something else I want to make sure that I share is that students feel empowered to ask for information, and that you make sure that you know that you could ask different folks. We here in admissions can connect you with current students who would love to talk to you. We can connect you with faculty and other staff members. So I remember being in your shoes and thinking, oh, people don't have the time for me. Like, they're so busy, you know, they have other things to do. But know that, you know, our job is to respond to you. Our job is to connect you to people who could help you get answers to your questions. So feel free to use this as a resource. We're here to help, and that's what I would share.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Clark University.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just underscore everything that my colleagues have said. Really just to emphasize that there aren't any bad or wrong questions. It sounds kind of silly when you put it this way, but no one is born knowing how the United States college applications process works, right? I mean, it's not like people have this knowledge inherently, so just don't be afraid of asking questions. I get emails that are like, hi, I'm interested in Clark. And I'm like, great, we'll take it from there. And then we can start the conversation. So just feel free, you can always get in touch with us.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, I have another quick question, and we could go rapid fire, or if any of you wanted to go more in depth, but I really like this question. It's probably my favorite one. We have some wacky ones that I've heard. I've heard ones that are more on the traditional side of things. Ones dealing with food, which are also a fan favorite, right? But I want to know, in each of your institutions, what is your favorite event or tradition on campus? And the University of Rochester, you can go first.
I think I'll share a different one today. We actually have this tradition when you arrive on campus as part of Welcome Week and orientation, convocation, which is actually sort of your introduction into the academic experience at Rochester. Students actually sign a class roll, which lives in our university library. It's brought out during graduation, and it's also brought out when you come back as an alum to any one of our alumni reunions. What I love about it is that it sort of introduces you to the community and you become part of the family, and it bookends your experience on campus, and you're forever part of the Rochester family. So whenever you visit us, you can see that living in the library.
Thank you so much. University of Vermont.
Yeah, sure thing. Similar to my colleague at Rochester, we do ours on the freshman side, where basically the first year side, where students come to campus that first year. And during Welcome Week, which is orientation, we have all of our students come down to the University Quad. It's about 2,500 students, faculty, staff, and we do that candlelighting ceremony I mentioned earlier in my presentation and sign the Common Ground Pledge. So similarly, we also sign a pledge as well that first year that kind of sets the foundation for the rest of the 4 years here on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, go ahead.
Yeah, so One of my favorite traditions, or I guess things that students will do, is there's a seal that my office would overlook back when we were working in the office on the quad, like a WPI seal. And there's this like legend that if you step on the seal during your 4 years there, that you won't graduate. And if you do step on it, you have to run within 20 seconds to the Scampy statue and touch the statue to like to undo this kind of curse. So I remember just seeing students like walking from the dining hall to class and just seeing them like everyone just you make sure like they're not touching it. And it's so funny. It kind of looks like ants, like from where I was looking, people just kind of making sure they weren't stepping on that seal. So I think that's a pretty funny quirky thing that I enjoy watching and seeing the students really pay attention to on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Clark University.
I will also share a different one that I did yesterday. This one is Playfest, which is a series of evenings where students perform their own creative work. And I remember seeing one of the plays from one of our admissions students, Maria. When I came in the theater, like 3 of our admission students were lead actors in the play, and none of them are theater majors. And that felt very, very Clark to me. I mean, in the sense of just the spirit of the liberal arts, that you could be an international development major and then for fun, be in your friend's play.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Those are also fun. And I know I learned a little bit about you all through that, and I'm sure our attendees did as well. With that said, I'd like to thank everybody so much, not only for bearing with my technical difficulties, but also just for attending and presenting about your institutions. Thank you all so much. And my attendees, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you learned a couple different things, and remember that this is just an appetizer. So do a deeper dive into these institutions after this. Also after this, before or after you close out your window, a very quick 4-question survey will appear. So go ahead and give us some feedback. We really do appreciate it. Sign up for more sessions. There are no more sessions happening for tonight, but we will have sessions happening tomorrow for Brooklyn Technical High School. Also, relive the fun with us. A recording will be available within the next few business days at strivescan.com/Brooklyn Tech. Now, with that said, you all, thank you again so much, and I hope you have a great night. Bye, everybody.